Thank you for joining me for another tutorial here on how to use myofascial release to help you feel better in your body. So the last tutorial was all about how to expand your breath, feel better in your respiratory part of how your body feels. But this is all about the whole body. So when you're talking about the whole body, you want to start with your feet. So I'm going to start with a release for my feet. I have a little spiky ball here that has a little bit of give. However, you could use a tennis ball or a yoga tune-up ball. And so I am going to go ahead and show you how you can release here. So I'm spreading my toes wide. So when I'm using a spiky ball, the little knobbies go in between my toes. But if you don't have a spiky ball, you can still do this. So I'm leaning in and out, and I'm really trying to affect my toes. And I'm going to work the whole foot, but I'm doing a little press in and a lean out. Now I can also try to grab that ball, wrap my toes around the ball, and then release as I come out. So contract and release as I do this. And of course, I'm going to work the whole foot. So I'm moving to the ball of my foot now. And I'm working a little bit across my foot. And then I'll do some cross fiber work. So my heel stays on the ground and I roll back and forth. So when we're doing this myofascial work, there's many ways. We can do direct pressure. We can do cross fiber work. We can do some contract, like I said, like I'm grabbing the ball and then release. There's many ways. There's not really a right or wrong. I'm moving on to the arch of my foot now. There's not really a right or wrong unless it creates more tension. So the idea is, yes, it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but when I stop, I should feel better, not worse. In addition to that, if while I'm doing this, I try to take a deep breath and I can't, it's too much. So finding the pressure and the ball that is appropriate for what you're experiencing right now. So if you have perhaps some issues with your feet, and I'm going to the heel now, if you have any type of inflammation, plantar fasciitis or something like that, you might want to be really careful. You could absolutely assist and help the healing process of that plantar fasciitis if you go light on this. But if I start pressing in really deep or use a ball that's really, really hard, I might cause more inflammation. So check in when you're doing this work, the same way you would always check in your yoga practice. So is this right for me? And if it's not, I can just adjust a little bit. Now, any area of the body, you could spend 90 seconds all the way up to about 5 minutes. I want to move on, so I'm going to do the other foot. Now, you can pause the video and take as much time as you'd like, but I want to move on so I can show you plenty today in my time. So I'm moving to the other side, getting the toes. I'm doing a bit of contract and release. So I'll say that again. Minimally, you want to spend 90 seconds doing an area of the body. But, about 5 minutes is plenty for the most part. Now, if you needed more, just do it again later or do it again the next day. So we want to find just enough for an area. Okay, and I'm moving to the ball of the foot and eventually the arch of the foot, the inner arch, the middle of the arch, the outer part. And I can do, again, some cross fiber work. And on this foot, I'm even going to show you how I can press down and do a little twisting so it grabs the tissue a little bit, tugs on it a little bit, and that hydrates that superficial tissue. And that works really well with the balls that are a little bit rubbery. Now, if you're using a tennis ball, it doesn't work quite as well. I'm not saying don't use a tennis ball if that's what you have. It's better than nothing. But if you have a tennis ball, it kind of just slips over the tissue. Anything that's a little rubbery will grab the tissue just a little bit and give it that little extra boost of hydration. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up on this left side, and then I always like to do a little check-in. So I'll close my eyes, notice how I feel, and of course my feet feel right now, and then I will move on. So we're going to be taking another type of ball. So again, I have a tennis ball here and that could work, but I also have this other ball. It's called a yoga tune-up ball. And again, it's got a little bit of rubbery and it definitely has some give. So it will grab my tissue a little bit better than a ball will, a tennis ball will. So I'm going to lay down on my back, lift my hips up. I'm going to place this ball underneath my glutes, the big fleshy part of my right glute. And then I'm going to, again, first check in. How does that feel? If it's so intense that I'm freaking out or causing tension or can't take a deep breath, then I'll move it. Okay? And then I will start to, I call it a clamshell, like clamshell out this right leg. And then I'll keep moving the ball until I find the spot. And there might be more than one spot, so be aware of that. So, but I'm going to try to find the spot that I feel like, yeah, that's where I need to spend some time. And when I find that spot, I'll leave the knee out and I'll start to move my hips side to side. So cross fiber work, and then I can move up and down, side to side. Very intuitive, and I call this a yoga practice. So very intuitive because I know where it needs to go. So I might be saying right now, put it higher, but you might say, no, I actually need it lower or more medial or lateral. And again, unless you are freaking out, can't take a deep breath, or you have sharp shooting pain, then there's no right or wrong. Now, if this was not enough for me at all, I could absolutely sit up and I could do any of these clamshell maneuvers, or I can move around. And same thing, I'm going to get up real quick. If it is too much, I could take it to the wall, place it against the wall, and do something similar. I just move back and forth. So if you are very tender in this area, you might want to take it to the wall. Now, the other thing that you can do, I'm going to come down here on my forearm, is take a bicycling type action with this leg. Okay, that can be a lot, so be careful, or like a marching type movement. So if you've ever been to physical therapy where they stick their elbow or their thumb in a spot and then say, okay, now move that limb, you're doing the same thing. So you're doing a little physical therapy for yourself. Massage therapists will do this too. Okay, and again, I can just roll around really intuitively moving. Now you take your time. I want to make sure that I get to show you lots of stuff today, but I'm going to move on to that second side, pause the video and continue if you'd like to do more on this first side. I'm going to come to side number 2. And I've got the ball underneath my left glute now. I'm going to start with those clamshell type maneuvers with my left knee. And again, I'll keep moving that ball until I find the spot I feel like I want to stay. And I think I found it. So knee stays out and I start to move. Checking in with the breath. In fact, take a deep breath right now. Deep, deep breath. And a long exhale. And again, if I needed more, I could absolutely sit up and start to do something similar. I could do the clamshells. I could move around. So these types of maneuvers that I'm doing absolutely will affect your physical body. You will see change happen the same way you would if you went and got a really great massage. But the other really amazing thing, and again, if you've ever had a really great massage or typically any kind of massage, you'll notice an energy shift. So we are absolutely affecting the energetic meridian lines of the body. So there will be a shift energetically. So if you have any stuck chi, any stuck energy, this will help it move. So you get additional benefit, not just physical, but energetic, even emotional benefit. So again, I could start doing some of that sort of bicycling out of this leg or marching of this leg. And over, checking in over and over. Can I take a deep breath? Is there any sharp shooting pain, any numbness? If there is, just move it up, down, left, right, because it is one continuous system. This fascial system is one continuous system. Believe it or not, we could have just done this rolling with the ball on our feet and our whole body would have felt better. That's how connected it all is. In fact, rolling of the bottom of your feet will affect your lower back directly. Lower back, direct nerve connection to pelvic floor from the bottom of your feet. So if you've got issues with your low back, I recommend starting with your feet first. One continuum. So if you can just pick a couple of places on your body, the whole body will feel better. All right, so we are going to move on. So we're going to be taking the yoga tune-up balls and putting them inside the tote. Now, if you don't have these and you have a couple of tennis balls, you can do something similar. Just put them inside of a sock and then tie it down so they don't pop out. So we're going to be affecting the front of your thigh. So we're going to start right above the knee. Lay down on your belly and you'll place the balls right above your knee. So I'm going to start just doing some short range of motion movements, maybe 3 to 4 inches. I'm not rolling on top of my knee, it is above my knee. And I'm on my forearms and I'm just moving back and forth. And then eventually I'm going to lay down and then start to bend and straighten and bend and straighten that right leg. And then I'll extend my leg and do a little cross fiber work by shifting the leg back and forth. And then I'll move to the middle of my thigh and do some of the same thing. So again, remember, even if I only had time to do one section of my thigh, let's say I just did the middle of my whole thigh will be affected because it is one continuous system. But if I have time, I might take time to do the whole thing. So I'm going to lay down on my belly again, and I'll bend, and I'll straighten. And again, it's a contraction and a release. And then a little side-to-side cross fiber work. So I have people ask me all the time, and I'm going to move up now to a little bit more of my upper thigh. Now, should I do this work before I do my exercise or my yoga class, or should I do it after or during? And the answer is yes. Any of those are perfect. You get benefit from doing it before. It prepares your body to do the work, whether it's an exercise program or a yoga program. You get absolute benefit. It prepares the body before. But if you do it after, you get benefit that you will actually help your body recover more quickly. So you won't have to spend time being as sore, and maybe you won't even have to spend as many days off. Go ahead and lay down, and we do the bend and release. So sometimes we work out, we run, we do our yoga, whatever it is, and we're so sore for 3 days that we can't do it again. Well, if you do a little myofascial release after, maybe you won't have to spend so much time recovering. All right, so we're going to move to the other side, and I'm going to go ahead and put it again above the knee, but I'm going to show you now what my other leg was doing, just in case you couldn't really see that. So I'm actually using this knee and or this right foot to help move me. Of course, I'm doing a bit of a planking maneuver, so you get some added benefit. You get some core work here, whether you like it or not, as I move slowly up and down. And then I'll release my body down, and I'll bend and straighten, and I'll bend and I'll straighten. And then a little cross fiber work. And then I start to move more towards the middle of my thigh. And some short range of motion, 3 to 4 inches up and down here. I'm pulling my tummy muscles in just a little bit so I don't come into a big sway back and irritate my low back. But then when I lay down here, I can relax and do my bending and my straightening of my leg again. A little cross fiber side to side work. And then I'll move my way up to the upper thigh. And once again, a short range of motion. And a relax and a bend and a straighten of the leg once again. And a little cross fiber work. Okay, great. Now we're going to move on. So we're going to take our 2 balls once again and take them back out of their tote. So in the previous video, we did more of our upper trapezius, which our upper trapezius is way up here. We're going to take these balls now towards right in between the shoulder blades, so more of the actual upper back area. I'm going to place them down, and then I'm going to lay down. And this can be pretty intense, so check in. If it's too intense, meaning you can't take a deep breath at all, just move them a little higher or a little lower. Now, if your head feels super uncomfortable and dangly, that was a nice noise, you might place a thin pillow or a thin block underneath your head. You do want some pressure, so if I lift my head up too high, I'm like, I'm not feeling anything anymore. But you really need to check in and see what's appropriate for you. I don't need anything under my head. My neck feels very comfortable here. So once I have myself situated, I'm going to start to reach my arms towards the ceiling. Now I reach up, almost rounding out the back. I take a breath and then soften, and my shoulder blades kind of melt together. And then I'll do that again. Reach up, kind of rounding out my back. And then without bending my elbows, I'll soften in and my shoulders kind of melt together. And I'll do that again. I reach in and up and I soften. And then I'll check in and see, do I need a little more? If I do, I might slide a block underneath my tailbone. And I can do, as I demonstrated in the last video, some sort of snow angel movements with my arms, or a release and a hug across my body. And all of this, again, is just really intuitive, and there's no like pattern it has to be. It doesn't have to be, I could do one arm one way. I could think about, like, what do I do repeatedly? If I'm a tennis player, I might reach my arm up because when I serve, that's what happens. Or if I'm a golfer, I might feel what it feels like to take my arm up and down across my body. So really working the patterns that I do repeatedly that might be creating some stuck tissue in my body. And then you can spend as much time as you'd like doing that. Eventually, I'll remove the block if it's there and clasp my hands behind my head and begin to roll all of that out. Now, this can be, again, very intense. So certainly you can take this to the wall. If you take it to the wall and do this, you're not going to be pressing as much weight on those balls. All right, again, you guys take your time. If you need more time, please go ahead and take it. For me, I'm going to move on and show you one last one before my time is up. Balls go back inside their tote or in your sock. This is one of my absolute favorites. So you're going to be taking these balls to the nape of your neck. And for most of us, those will go on top of a block. So you're going to check in and see if that's appropriate for you. It can be too much for some. But once you have yourself situated, and it could be just on the floor or on top of a block, I'm going to start to move my head around. Oh, this feels so good. Yes and no with my head. I might draw circles or a figure 8 with my nose on the ceiling. I might just let this do a bit of contraction, a little stretching, not contraction, traction on my neck. I might just breathe here and let the balls and the gravity just kind of do the work for me. Or again, I might move. Now, this is something I love to do right before Shavasana. So you might choose to do the same. And it's fine for the balls to be right up where your neck meets your skull or a little lower. Anywhere you have tension on your neck is fine. And just slowly moving. You might pause on one side for a breath or two, and then pause on the other side for a breath or two. And then eventually, this is the place where I would say, relax it down and find your Shavasana. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for joining me.